Hey everyone! Today we're going to dive into a question that I think we all wrestle with. In a world that is constantly pulling us in a million different directions, how do we find our way back to ourselves? We're going to be looking at some really powerful ancient wisdom to sort of map out a guide for finding that inner peace.
So let's start with a feeling that's probably all too familiar. You know that sense that you're just on a hamster wheel? You're running, you're checking things off the list, but you don't really feel connected to any of it? It's that feeling of being, well, just a little bit lost. Okay, so where does that feeling even come from? Well, first we've got to understand the environment we're in. Our source for today calls this being lost in the noid.
And this line just captures it perfectly, doesn't it? The modern maze. It's the sense of trying to navigate all these endless complexities and pressures that are coming at us from every direction. You feel like you're constantly trying to find your way out, but every turn just leads down another confusing hallway. And what does this maze actually feel like in our day-to-day lives? Well, it's these things right here. It's those to-do lists that just never ever seem to end. It's that intense pressure to always be on, to be performing at your absolute best. It's the digital overload from our screens, the constant dings and notifications that are always grabbing for our attention. It's fascinating because the ancient text we're looking at describes this as a world overflowing with pain and suffering. And when you look at this list, you totally get how that translates to our modern anxieties. So, when we feel this way, when we're lost in that maze, what's our first instinct? We start looking for a fix, right? An escape route. And that brings us to our next big idea. Realizing the solution is an inside job. This piece of ancient wisdom, man, it cuts right to the chase. It's asking a really powerful question. Can we really find peace just by doing things on the outside? The point is, you can't trick or satisfy the deepest part of yourself just by going through the motions of wellness. And this slide just lays out that difference so clearly. On one side, you have the outer rituals we all tend to chase. You know, the next promotion, that picture-perfect morning routine for social media, what you might even call performative wellness. Now look, these things aren't bad, but here's the key. Without the inner truth on the other side, without that connection to real purpose, to mental clarity, to your authentic self, they can feel totally empty. They just become another chore on the to-do list. So if we know deep down that just chasing external things isn't really the answer, why do we keep doing it? Well, that brings us to a really powerful question. Who, or maybe what, is actually in the driver's seat of your life? Wow. What a striking image from our source. If a blind man is made the leader, how will he know the way? It's just a perfect metaphor for what can happen inside our own minds when we let the wrong things guide our choices. So let's just give this a name. The blind leader. What is it? It's basically any external pressure or internal impulse that we follow on autopilot, without really being aware of what we're doing or why. And what do these blind leaders look like today? These are going to sound familiar. It's societal expectations, that pressure to follow a certain career path or get married by a certain age. It's unchecked ambition, where success comes before your own well-being. It's that powerful fear of missing out, FOMO, that keeps us endlessly scrolling. And maybe the biggest one of all, that relentless inner critic in our heads telling us we're not good enough. When these things are leading the way, it's no wonder we end up feeling totally lost. Okay, so we've identified the maze, we've identified the blind leaders. Kind of bleak, right? But this is where things start to turn around. How do we find a better guide? This brings us to the solution. Finding your true connection. And this question, man, it gets right to the heart of everything. That feeling of looking in the mirror and not quite recognizing the person looking back at you. Why does that happen? Why do we sometimes feel like a stranger in our own lives? So the text offers this really profound answer. Now, you can think of this central connection as your innermost self, your core values, your spirit, whatever word works for you. The message is universal. When you become a stranger to that authentic part of yourself, the entire world starts to feel alien and disconnected. And this connection doesn't just stop inside you, it radiates outward. Think about this quote. It's such a beautiful way of talking about true belonging. It's basically saying that when you're grounded in your own truth, you stop looking for validation in all the wrong places. You naturally find your people. So what does that kind of community, that circle of your own friends, actually look like? It really boils down to these key elements. It's a connection built on shared values, not just, shared interests. It's about unconditional support, having a safe space where you can be totally vulnerable.
And maybe most importantly, it's a place where everyone celebrates each other's true, authentic selves, instead of pressuring each other to be something they're not.
Which brings us to our final destination on this little journey. After you navigate the noise, after you find true connection, you finally arrive at the ultimate goal, coming home to yourself. I absolutely love this imagery. This mansion, this place of wisdom and peace and truth, it's not in some faraway land you have to travel to. It's found within the home of his own being. It's right here. It's inside you.
So let's call it the mansion within. What is it really? It's that state of inner peace, that feeling of clarity and connection that is always available to you. It's not something you have to go out and find or earn or achieve. It's your natural state, just waiting for you to come back to it.
So, the single most important takeaway from this whole explainer is this. All that searching, all that running around, it was all based on a wrong idea. The destination was never out there. It has always been right here. The real goal is just to come home to the self that's been waiting for you all along.
And so I'll leave you with this final thought. This isn't about some massive, overwhelming life change. It's about small, simple, intentional shifts. So my question to you is, what's one small thing, one simple action you can take to come home to yourself today? Thanks for joining me.